Welcome.
All right, so it'll be just a few seconds before we have anybody live on the phone, and I'll go ahead and give my intro, and then I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome to our live telephone town hall meeting this evening. You're on with Alberta Union of Provincial Employees President Guy Smith and Staff Negotiator Dale Perry, in charge of Government Service Collective Bargaining. They're here to answer your questions this evening, so if you would like to ask them a question live in this forum, push 0 on your phone now or at any time during this call. You can also press 7 if you'd like to give us your email address so that we can keep you updated on bargaining, pensions, and more moving forward. We would like your personal address, not your professional address. So press 7 if you want to give us your personal email address so that we can keep you updated on this bargaining, on pensions, and on other matters important to you moving forward. I'm going to repeat this introduction just one more time as we're dialing out to thousands of members. We appreciate your patience. We'll get started with our program in just a minute here. This is a live telephone town hall meeting. You're on with Alberta Union of Provincial Employees President Guy Smith and Staff Negotiator Dale Perry, who's responsible for Government Service Collective Bargaining. They are here to answer your questions. So we'd love it if you asked questions live in our forum. The way that you do that is pushing 0 on your phone right now or at any time during this call. By pushing 0, we'll get you up in line to ask those questions live, and we'll get you your answers live during our forum. Again, if you would like to get email updates, you can push 7 on your phone. And by pushing 7, we'll get you with an operator who can get your personal email address so that we can keep you updated on Alberta Union of Provincial Employees business moving forward. Once more, this is a live telephone town hall meeting. We're doing it so that we can answer your questions on bargaining. We have an update on collective bargaining since May, and we'll hear that before we take your questions. But we would like to get as many questions as we can from you during this town hall meeting. Once again, we'll be taking them live, so you'll have an opportunity to ask them of Guy and Dale during our forum. You push 0 to ask a question. By pushing 0, you'll get with an operator. They'll get your question, and they'll put you in line to ask that question live. You can also push 7 to give us your personal email address so we can keep you updated on bargaining moving forward. So 0 once more for questions, 7 if you'd like to give us your personal, not your professional email address. And it's my pleasure to turn it over now to President of Alberta Union of Provincial Employees, Guy Smith. Guy, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome to everybody else on the line. We've been on the road for the last week, going to some major centres across Alberta, talking about the tentative agreement that we've secured with the Government of Alberta. This is your opportunity to ask questions, and I really encourage you to do so. It's really important as a democratic organization that you have an informed decision to make, and we want to make sure that you have all the information that you need, that when you mark your ballot and send it back in, that it's a decision that you're confident about. So that's why we're having this discussion tonight, and that we encourage as many questions as possible. I'm going to turn it over to Dale Perry, who's on staff at AUPE as a negotiator, who was the lead negotiator in this round of negotiations with the Government of Alberta, which led to this tentative agreement. So I'll turn it over to Dale Perry.
Thanks, Guy. So what we have been doing in the live town halls is providing an update on how we got to a settlement on April 28th. It's been a long time since we were out doing town hall meetings back in May of 2013, and we thought it's important that people understand what transpired between then and the deal we did reach on April 28th, as it's important to understand the parameters around settling that tentative agreement. So what we did when we came around in May of 2013 is we got direction from you in regards to where we were going because we were unable to reach a settlement with the government. The direction was to push forward, which we did in mediation. We set dates for mediation in July. We met with the government in July for a day and about a quarter, and the mediator quickly recognized that we were going to be unable to reach a deal through his assistance, and he wrote out of the process, which left us only one avenue to deal with reaching a settlement, and that was through the arbitration process under the legislation. So we certainly did file our application for arbitration, to which the government opposed it, suggesting that we hadn't appropriately bargained, we hadn't spent enough time at the table discussing the issues, and we needed more dialogue. It took us the whole summer to work through this. 13 days of dialogue with the government, and them telling us that they weren't interested in moving any of their positions, we felt was sufficient, as we were making no progress at all, and the application for arbitration was appropriate, and ultimately the Labour Board made that decision as well. So we did get dates for arbitration scheduled, and those were to go in November. And as you well know, in November, the government caught us all a little by surprise when they introduced Bill 46. We had no prior knowledge of Bill 46 coming. The only knowledge we had of Bill 46 was the day prior to formally introducing it, they made an announcement in the House that it was going to be tabled the following day. So that put us into emergency mode, panic mode, and certainly we motivated and rallied. You motivated and rallied around Bill 46 and the issues around it. We took all the legal challenges, Labour Board challenges that were available to us, and pursued those. And in the course of doing all of those things, the government did offer to come back to the bargaining table, and we did spend 3 more days at the bargaining table with the government's bargaining committee in January, but those days were less than fruitful as well. We were no closer to a deal at the end of those 3 days. So we left it in the hands of the court, and through the application to the courts, we were fortunate enough to find a judge who would see things our way, and we were provided an injunction, so Bill 46 could not be implemented. We did meet again with the government. The government thought it was necessary to eliminate all of their previous bargaining committee and replace them with a new bargaining committee. A gentleman by the name of Phil Ponting was appointed, the Assistant Public Service Commissioner, and somebody from CHR to participate in collective bargaining on a go-forward basis. That collective bargaining proved to be a little more effective, but we were still unable to reach a settlement. So in February, on the 26th, we reached an impasse, and the employer chose to put what they call the best offer out to you, the members. Mr. Peter Watson delivered that through one of his blogs to all of the members. The position that the union had at that point was we had certainly, once the injunction was put in place, we had looked at rescheduling the arbitration. We had arbitration dates set for August, and that was the avenue we were going to continue to pursue. The government, of course, when the decision on Bill 46 came down, within 15 seconds of having the decision, had already announced in the press that they would be appealing the decision. The date for that appeal was to be heard on April 28th. If April 28th rings a bell, that's because that is the day we did reach a settlement. So the bargaining committee met with the government on April 27th, which was a Sunday. We spent close to 17 hours in negotiations with the government on the 17th, and was able to move them to a position that the committee was willing to accept and recommend to you as a reasonable settlement in this round of bargaining. That settlement didn't contain everything that we would like to have had, but it was significantly better than where we had been, and miles better than what we would have gotten had we been unsuccessful in defending the injunction in court the very same day as we reached the deal. So having said all of those things, I give you a little background on what we went through in this round of bargaining. As I say, it was a very difficult round of bargaining. And rather than me continue to babble about how difficult it was to get to a deal. If you have any questions about what the deal is, by all means, press 0 and you can ask the questions. If it's a technical question, I will probably answer it. If it's more of a political natured question, then Guy will probably answer. So we're going to open the floor for questions. Please push 0 to ask questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Dale. Thank you so much, Guy. Quick reminder, for those of you who may have just joined us, you're on Alberta Union of Provincial Employees telephone town hall meeting. If you would like to ask a question, go ahead and push 0. If you would like to give us your personal email address so that we can keep you updated on bargaining moving forward, press 7 on your phone now. And our first question is going to actually be a pension-related question, I believe, and then we'll get to some more bargaining questions. Janet, you're live. Go ahead with your question, please.
I want to know if people who have met the 85 factor prior to January of 2016 are grandfathered in with a defined pension, not a floating pension, because that's not what we're hearing. Does that make sense?
Well, in terms of pensions, this isn't the town hall about pensions, but if you have a specific question about your own pension, are you with PSPP or LEPP?
PSPP.
Okay. Can I suggest that you contact Alberta Pension Services in terms of your own individual situation, because it's hard to comment on that. There's no doubt, you're absolutely correct, that there are proposed changes to the pension plans. This is nothing to do with negotiations. This isn't this wasn't formed part of this collective agreement. But I can tell you that, as you know, we have managed to push the government off its moves to try and change the pension plans. We've got them to delay two bills that were in the House, and those are currently under the review of a standing committee where we'll be making presentations to them to try and prevent these proposed changes. So the kind of changes that you're talking about hopefully won't take place at all. And we're working hard to make sure that happens and that your pension plan is secure. But if you do have specific questions about your own situation or specific situations, Alberta Pension Services, which is staffed by members of AUPE, I suggest you give them a call, and they'll be able to answer those specific questions, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. We're going to go to our next question live from Lila next. Lila, go ahead.
I am not on pension yet. I'm not. I'm on disability, long-term disability, and I'm still considered an employee of the government of Alberta. So I'm not talking about pension.
Okay, yeah, no. This call is specifically focused on bargaining related to current employees. We're not. We just had the one pension question. So go ahead with your question on your disability, Lila.
Well, that's the question that I put. What about the long-term disability people that are not getting enough money to live on? What is the negotiations for them? What's the deal?
There was no change to the long-term disability plan. It's the provisions of the plan provide an amount of money based on pre-disability, and that did not change in collective bargaining.
Great. Thank you very much, Lila, for your question. We're going to go to our next question live from Michelle. Michelle, go ahead.
Hi, this is Michelle Main again. I already did put my comments in earlier, but I wouldn't mind putting them in again. Just to say that everybody should just really ask questions before they put their vote in. And if you're not sure of something, then ask, or email or something, everybody's out there to well-informed people, I think, So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, and you're absolutely correct. We want people to make an informed decision, Michelle.
Great. Thank you very much, Michelle. And I know many of you already have, but a reminder that if you would like to ask a question in this forum, go ahead and push 0 on your phone right now. Our next question comes from Arvin. Arvin, you're live. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Arvin from Edmonton. How are you?
Good, Arvin. How are you?
Good. the ballots are back now. What is your predictions that you think we should be getting a raise?
Pardon, what was your question, Arden?
The ballots are all back now. What are your predictions on this the offer that came for the bargaining? What do you think is going to go through?
The ballots aren't all back yet. We've started collecting ballots. We have about 12,000 ballots returned at this point. We did send close to 22,000 ballots out. People have until the 23rd of June to get their ballots returned to us, at which time we will be counting those ballots. And certainly the committee has made a recommendation that the settlement be accepted by the membership, and we will see what the membership decide. That's part of the process.
So Arden will know for sure June 24th, and at that point we'll be making sure that we update on our Facebook what the results of that are. And if it is accepted or ratified, then the employer, the government will put into processes, all the changes, the monetary changes that are implicated in this tentative agreement, including the back pay for the 2%, which would start on April the 1st. So we have to wait and see. This is democracy in action, and the members get to speak, Arden. So we're waiting just like you are to see what the count will be on June 24th. But the one thing we are really encouraging people to do is to make sure they send their ballots back. It's really important we get a strong return in terms of numbers so that we know that the members have spoken.
Great. Thank you, Arvin. Appreciate your question. Our next question actually comes from Shelley, and she preferred not to come live with her question, so I'll ask it for her. She wanted to know how Christmas closure days worked. Can you explain that for Shelley?
The new Christmas closure days will be coming effective this year, and they will be in addition to the provisions that are already in Article 36 for named holidays. So there will be 3 additional days in this year. Actually, there's a 7-year cycle, and in the 7-year cycle, there are 3 days on 5 years and 2 days on 2 years. And what it does is provide that week between Christmas and New Year's as a break, so they can actually close down government service offices, and those will not be staffed. The only places that will be staffed are the essential services 24-hour operations during that period of time. So the new days are additional days beyond what you had previously in the paid holidays article.
And they are paid days off. And if you work in a 24-hour continuous operation or essential services operation, you get to reschedule those days at your choosing, whether to add them to vacation in the summer or whenever. But it's 3 additional paid days off.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the question, Shelley. Our next question comes from Theodora. Theodora, you're live. Go ahead.
Hi there. It's Theodora Bradley. On this call, I wanted to know why, when you first started negotiations, you said that you wouldn't take anything less than 3%. And the other part of my question is, why was there a 4-year deal taken? Or accepted by you guys, I guess.
Yeah, and I can speak to both of those. Certainly in collective bargaining, we set a position that we believe is fair going into collective bargaining based on what we believe are the market conditions, and we try to achieve that. Bargaining is in flux. It's a state of flux throughout the process, and positions shift and move. Monetary positions shift during the course of collective bargaining. Do we believe that 3% was a reasonable settlement offer? Yes. Does the package itself have greater than 3% in it? Yes, it does. If you look at the vacation entitlements and the overtime provisions changes and the shift and weekend premium changes and the Christmas leave days, all of those things add up to make the total package. And the total package that we have, that you have before you now, is close to 4% a year.
So I'd like to add to that too, because certainly, if we, in going forward, if we'd managed to get in front of an arbitrator, our position would have been 3% a year. The government's position was 0%, and an arbitrator usually goes somewhere down the middle, and there's no guarantee that even if we got into arbitration, that an arbitrator would have come close to what we actually managed to achieve through negotiations. What you have to remember, that this is probably the strangest, most politically charged round of bargaining that AUP has ever been engaged in, because the government was willing to use the full force of its state powers to impose on you 0%. It wanted to impose wage freezes, and that's why Bill 46 came into existence. So where we managed to achieve, and it's always more desirable to get a negotiated settlement than have some other third party decide for you. But where we managed to achieve was a universe away from where the government actually wanted to take this. You asked the question about the 4-year deal. Yes, there was a huge amount of debate at the table about that, because we look at election cycles as well. We know when governments are most vulnerable. But we had to buy that fourth year with the 2.5% increase. So it's longer than normal, but it does provide for salary increases in each of those years. And also, it's not just the things that Dale was talking about in terms of improvements to various benefits and monetary entitlements. There's huge language improvements as well in the collective agreement. So I think that the most important thing in all of this, in my mind, is the fact that members get to decide. They get to vote, because through any of the other processes we were looking at, whether it's through the courts or in arbitration, the members wouldn't have the final say. And I think they've been through so much in this round of bargaining, they had to have the final say. So we appreciate everybody's opinion out there and want to make sure that everyone takes the opportunity to vote.
Great. Thank you, Theodore, for the question. Appreciate that answer, and we're going to go right to our next question from Simone. Simone, go ahead.
Hi, my name is... Hi. I guess my question is twofold. First of all, when do you anticipate counting the ballots? I know that they're due back the 23rd at 12 o'clock, I think was the cutoff. And my next question is, if the union, or if the people in the union vote yes, is there another step that the government has to go through before it is accepted on their part and they can start making the changes? Or do they just say the union has said yes, we've agreed that if they say yes, it's just going to move forward from there?
Hi, Simone. This is Dale. First, the ballots will be counted on the 24th of June, and we will be putting the information, the results out on the 24th, probably later in the afternoon. It will be up on the website. Certainly, we have an obligation to notify the employer before we post it, but it will be posted on the 24th once those ballots are counted. And your other question was...
if it's a yes.
So, Simone, this is Guy Smith here. The government has ratified this tentative agreement. So once both parties are ratified, it becomes in force and effect. So it's really up to our members now as to how they vote. So moving on from that, then, as Dale said, the employer, the government is notified, and then they have to put into place all those things that have a monetary impact in terms of the changes to the collective agreement, make sure everyone gets the money owed to them. The other thing is that there's an agreement there that if both parties ratify this tentative agreement, that Bill 46 will be condemned to non-existence, and hopefully we'll never see the likes of it ever again. So that the government will repeal Bill 46, and AUP will drop all of its legal challenges to Bill 46 at that time. So that's what things will look like if our members vote in favor of this.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Simone, for the question. We're going to go to our next question from Wanda. But a quick reminder, we did have many of you who pushed 7 to give us your personal email address, and we finally got that queue cleared. So if any of you would like to give us your personal email address so we can keep you updated on bargaining moving forward, please do so now. Go ahead and push 7. We'll get you with an operator, and we'll get your personal, not professional email address so that we can keep you updated. And Wanda is our next caller. Wanda, go ahead.
I was just wondering about on the government services tentative agreement that came out through the mail. It had mentioned improved overtime provisions for employees in locals 2, 3, and 6, resulting in daily overtime at time and a half for the first 2 hours and double time for additional hours, which is usually for local 1. So I was quite surprised for local 6, who already has huge amounts of overtime, even after they're supposed to flex their week. So I just wondered if that was correct, or if it was an error.
No, those are correct changes. It's Dale, and those are correct changes to the collective agreement. We went into this round of bargaining with an attempt to try and ensure that the provisions of the collective agreement are applied equally to all of the members that it covers. So what we did in this round of bargaining was we had the provisions of the Master Agreement Article 17 overtime apply throughout the subsidiary agreements. Over the years, there were things that had got missed through subsidiary agreements, through when we bargained them many years ago individually. They had separated from the master, and we were trying to tie them back together. So those folks that were not previously getting double time overtime in subs 2, 6, and 3 will now be getting the same as everybody else, time and a half for the first 2 hours and double time thereafter on a weekday, time and a half on Saturdays up to your full hours, and then double time beyond that, and double time for working on Sundays.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Wanda, for that question. Very much appreciated. Let's go to Lee's question live next. Lee, go ahead, please.
Hi, it's Lee calling here. I just wonder if you could explain what happens if for some reason the deal is not ratified, how that arbitration and Bill 46 kind of then come into play. What happens as far as anything that the arbitrator would decide?
That's a great question, Lee, and it's one of those. There's a lot of unknowns in the future if the deal isn't ratified. What would likely happen is the Court of Appeal hearing that Dale was referring to was the government was trying to appeal the injunction that was placed on Bill 46 by the Court of Queen's Bench, and that injunction stays in place until AUPE has managed to run all of its legal challenges, because we put a challenge under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in regards to Bill 46, which means it could eventually end up at the Supreme Court of Canada. So that injunction on Bill 46 is in place at the moment. If the government had gone to the Court of Appeal, it could have had that injunction overturned and be in a position where it could then impose Bill 46, which, as you know, had wage freezes and no changes to language in the collective agreement. If the government had been unsuccessful in its appeal and the injunction stayed in place, we would, and the deal is not ratified, we would continue to bargain. We would try and continue to negotiate. And if we were unable to negotiate, then we would have access to arbitration rights because they're still protected. And the arbitrator, as I said earlier, may or may not have come in, determined a ruling which may not have come up to where we were in the TA anyway. The big problem was that under the injunction, the terms of the injunction imposed or brought down by the Court of Queen's Bench is that whatever ruling an arbitrator decides, we wouldn't be able to apply that to our members until all the court proceedings had run their course. And as I said, that probably means going to the Supreme Court of Canada on Bill 46, and that could take years. So we may have an arbitration ruling that we would be unable to provide to our members until years down the road. And if it did end up at the Supreme Court of Canada, there's no guarantee that the Supreme Court of Canada would have struck down Bill 46. They might have said, no, it was fine. The government was well within its rights to do that. So there was too many unknowns, most of which at the end of the day might have meant absolutely no improvements for our members at all. What we have with this tentative agreement is a known quantity that members can look at, they can understand, and can make a decision on. But also at the end of the day, it's in the hands of the members, and if they don't ratify this, then we'll just continue on, I guess, where we were before April 28th.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the question, Lee. We're going to go to our next question from Rob. Those of you who pushed 7 to give us your email address, we'll have an operator with you shortly. We had so many responses. We got a bit of a backlog, but we will get to you. Thank you for your patience. Rob's our next question. Go ahead, Rob.
Hi. My question has to do with the letter of understanding regarding, let me just find it here, legal fees. And that stated that for acts undertaken in the course of employment at the request of Crown, all legal costs will be covered by an employer. My question is still more clarification on that. As for example, say highway patrol, if you're involved in an incident like happened in Camrose, where a traffic stop was done, and then there was allegations of wrongdoing, and which was found by the RCMP not to have happened, yet she proceeded with her own charges in the court. Does that cover us, our legal fees for in that type of setting?
That examples like that are exactly why we had to bargain the language into the collective agreement on legal indemnity. The position from the government was that the legal indemnity provisions under the legislation were there the whole time. But what was happening is they were doing their own internal investigations, conducting those investigations and making determinations based on those investigations whether or not they're going to provide funding for individuals who were involved in court action, whether it be criminal, civil, but they were making those determinations based on their internal investigations. So what we were able to do is get the language from the legislation included into the collective agreement. So the letter of understanding pretty well mirrors what is in the legislation. And we're able to grieve situations now where compensation isn't provided. I can't guarantee that there won't be a fight for compensation, but at least you have the tools to fight for compensation in the future.
All right. Thank you very much, Rob. Our next question is from Donna. Donna, go ahead.
Hi there. I'm on long-term disability, and I have two questions regarding that. Why are they not eligible to receive lump sum payments? And the other one was why aren't long-term disability clients able to receive salary increases at each agreement renewal, just like everyone else gets a wage increase? We do not. Why is that?
The salary increase issue is tied to the terms and conditions of the long-term disability plan. Under the terms of the long-term disability plan, compensation is based on a percentage of your pre-disability wage. And while you're on long-term disability, that is indexed periodically based on the terms of the plan itself. Those things are not included in the collective agreement. So those aren't negotiable issues that we bargain at the bargaining table. As far as the lump sum payment is provided to the individuals who are actually working. And the government set the terms and parameters around the lump sum payments. They picked the time frames around those lump sum payments. And they're no different than the parameters that were put in place back in 2011 in the same settlement. Those that were on long-term disability prior to 2013 are not eligible. If you went on to long-term disability during 2013, then you may be eligible for a portion of that lump sum payment.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks, Donna, for the question. Linda's our next caller. Linda, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you very much for all of the work that you've done. It's been a tremendous assistance to us. I am near retirement, and so this position is probably less valuable to me just because it's a lump sum instead of an increase to my income, which my pension would be based on, and the additional vacation won't be valuable to me. And so my question is really just sort of curiosity. What made it so difficult, or was it too difficult to negotiate an actual salary increase as opposed to a lump sum?
Well, I think the fact that the government legislated you 0, 0, 1, and 1 in a bill in the House demonstrates the level of difficulty that we had in collective bargaining. We had settlements that had been reached by other organizations that the framework for our bargaining was based on. The teachers signed a 4-year deal with 0, 0, 0, and 2, running for the next 4 years. The doctors signed a 5-year deal with zeros. That made it very difficult for us to move the government away from zeros. Was the 1850 ideal? No, it wasn't. Was we looking for percentage increases? We certainly were. Do we understand that the 1850 doesn't go to pensions, doesn't provide a continuing benefit? Yeah, we understand all of those things. The option that was available to us was a lump sum payment or a zero. We thought it would be in the best interest of our members to make that decision. We took the lump sum. Hello? Are we still here? We get cut off. Says we're still live. Let's get going. Hello?
They went that as well, so I'm just going to go to Washington.
Okay. I don't know. And the second one. The first three were like, oh my God, it's all going to be like this.
We're just calling Ian now.
Ian Moore's
here. A lot of questions are here.
Hey there, guys. I apologize. A transformer went out on my street here, and I am just getting back on a backup battery power. So we've got Cindy's question up live next.
Some were just deleting, like, how come you didn't go through?
Oh,
Cindy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, so just so you know, we could hear you in the background. Perhaps you couldn't hear us, but I know I could certainly hear you. So, firstly, I just want to commend both of you and all the committee who was involved in the bargaining. It appears that a lot of effort and long hours have gone into these negotiations for the best interests of the members. So for that, I thank you. Secondly, I do have a question with respect to the shift and weekend changes that have been made to the 24-hour essential services folks. Could you tell me what those increases are, and are they going to be in effect once, when, and if this is ratified, or will they be retroactive?
The changes to the shift differential and weekend premiums will not be retroactive changes. They will be effective upon ratification of the collective agreement. And under the memorandum of agreement that we signed, the monetary things will come into effect on the first pay period following ratification of the collective agreement. So the changes to Article 18 shift differential, the 3 to 11 p.m. shift was increased to $2.75 per hour, and the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift was an increase to $5 per hour. So those are the same rates that are provided to almost 80,000 folks that work for Alberta Health Services. In 18A, the weekend premium, once again, the weekend was extended from Friday at 3 to Monday at 7 a.m. And there was an increase to the premium to $3.25, again, to be consistent with what is being provided by Alberta Health Services.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cindy, for the question. Our next question comes from Sherry. Sherry, go ahead.
Oh, hi. My question got kind of partially answered a few people back, but I was just wondering if once this is all ratified, or if it goes ahead, then approximately when will the new raises or amounts or whatever and the back pay come into effect, kind of thing? About approximately how far ahead are we looking?
Generally speaking, when we're in these situations, the employers anticipate that the ratification will occur, and they start the preparation for making those changes. So they're usually within 4 to 6 weeks of notice of ratification. And so the lump sum payment, I would suspect, will be out within a month of the ratification. And the changes to salaries and the implementation of the new salary grids will probably be effective within 6 weeks.
Great. Thank you very much. Our next caller comes from Sandra. Sandra, go ahead.
Hello. I had heard that there was a provision for an extra boot allowance. I was just wondering if that was true or not.
There were changes to the boot, clothing, and protective clothing allowances in all of the subsidiary agreements. They were increased, and I don't have the sheet in front of me, but I don't know which one's which.
Boots from 90 to 150, increase from 90 to 150, and shoes from 70 to 120.
Okay, so the boot allowance increased from $90 to $150, and the shoe allowance was increased from $70 to $120.
I agree with the other caller. I do appreciate all your negotiating. I think it was very difficult and politically charged situation, and I think you guys did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sandra. Our next question is Christine. Christine, go ahead, please.
Hi, I actually have two questions. My first question is regarding Christmas. It sort of got answered, but I just wanted to make sure I was clear on it. My business, we never close at Christmas. We're classified as essential, so we always have staff working it. So my understanding is if we don't have it off and we have to work it, then we're entitled to the 3 days, because when I read the contract, it didn't seem like that. And my other question is, with the 3 personal days that are in there, there's no definition as what we classify as what it would be entitled to be. Like, if I wake up and I don't feel like going to work, is that I'm allowed to just phone in? Because even when we brought it up, the employer's already saying, well, no, we get to say whether it's entitled to be a personal day or not. So would we have to disclose why we're not being in, or can we just phone in and say we won't be in today?
Okay, I'll start with your first question first, and that is in regards to the Christmas leave. Certainly, Christmas leave for those who are required to work during that period will be provided at a mutually agreed time. That's what the language in the collective agreement reads, and that's what will occur. So individuals who are required to work will get a day for a day, at a mutually agreeable time. Secondly, the personal leave question is something that has been asked in many of the town hall meetings, so you're not alone on that one. But the guidance that I have suggested to people at those other town hall meetings is it still falls within the special leave article. The intent of the bargaining committee when we proposed personal leave days was to replace disaster conditions because we were unsuccessful in getting the collective agreement to apply in a means that we believed was appropriate in regards to disaster conditions. We had gone to arbitration on a number of issues, and arbitrators had determined that disaster conditions were based upon disasters determined by the government. So if your basement floods because it rained all damn night, then that's just a personal issue. That's not a disaster for the government, and you wouldn't be entitled to a disaster day. So the intent in collective bargaining and bargaining personal leave days was to ensure that people would have the ability to take leave for circumstances such as that. We didn't bargain them as additional vacation days. We didn't bargain them as ski days or anything like that. We bargained them as a part of the special leave package to provide flexibility around issues that require an employee's personal attention. And there is a definition. There's a definition of personal leave. And it's a pretty broad definition, I'll agree. But there is a definition, and it simply says anything that requires an employee's personal attention. So I would suspect that most people have rapport with their supervisors and an understanding with their supervisors, and it won't be a significant issue when you phone in to utilize a special leave day. If they ask, you may choose to provide the rationale. If your basement's flooding or your furnace is broke down and it's 40 below, you may just tell them that when they ask the question. It won't be such a big issue. So, I mean, that's my sort of guidance on the issue. Is it going to be problematic moving forward? I would suggest that there's going to be some issues in ironing it out. Did all of the details around what a special leave, personal leave day is get discussed at the bargaining table? No, they didn't. But the rule of thumb that I would suggest that you use in applying those days is that they still form part of the special leave provisions.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Christine. Kurt's our next caller. Kurt, go ahead.
I'd like to know how much of the bargaining was kind of the new premier trying to save face for his party, and what the mindset was with the executives at the top.
That's a good question. This is Guy Smith, president of AAP speaking. There is no doubt that Bill 46 and the very aggressive stance that the government took was part of the, under Redford's watch. And when she resigned in the middle of March and Hancock became premier, I thought it was important to communicate to him our complete disappointment and dismay at the way things like collective bargaining have gone, as well as other issues such as pensions, and that it was incumbent upon him as the new premier to seriously address those issues. And they know very well, and I think you said it yourself, that they're in political trouble, and a lot of the trouble has been created by the attacks on our members over the last year or so. And they recognize that, so they had to resolve these issues, and they were forced into a position where they had to move significantly off their positions, whether it be bargaining, whether it be pensions or anything else, because they knew that a continued battle with us, they were losing that battle. So yeah, it is politically motivated. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, I'll give Premier Hancock credit for recognizing that and giving someone the authority to actually come to the bargaining table and to bargain fairly and openly and meaningfully, because for the last year we've seen anything but that. So I think it was incumbent upon them to deal with this issue, and I think they have done it appropriately and respectfully, which is nice to see after all the stuff that we've been through. But there's no doubt that part of this is politically motivated because the government itself is in serious trouble and needs to clear up a lot of mess left behind by the former premier.
Thank you very much, Kurt. Dean is next. Dean, go ahead.
Yes, hello. I was curious about if Bill 46 might make a reoccurrence at some point in its current form or in some variant, if there's an overall tendency to an erosion of collective bargaining powers, and what that might mean for the perception of the public service in general.
That's a great question. There was no doubt that Bill 46 was a full frontal attack on collective bargaining rights, and I think what we'll find is that the government has learned a lesson that they better not go down that road again, because they lost in the lower courts and they lost in the court of public opinion, and they saw tenacious pushback by not just AUPE but other unions as well. And if the government had been successful in imposing Bill 46 on AUPE members, they would have, I'm sure, have tried the same approach with other members in AUPE plus other unions as well. But I think that we've seen the last of these kind of full frontal attacks, at least for a while. And certainly this government and any government in the future realizes that if they try this stuff again with AUP, then they'll pay the political price. I mean, if you can find her, go and ask Alison Redford how she feels now about bringing in Bill 46, because I think that was the biggest mistake of her political career, and I don't think any of them are willing to make the same mistake. So we always have to be vigilant. We always have to stand strong for the rights of our members and for workers, but I think the government has learned very clearly that they cannot just walk over those rights without a huge fight back, and I don't think they're going to try it again very soon.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Dean. Linda, you're next. Linda, go ahead, please.
Hi. I noticed that we've added a piece to the collective agreement that deals with bullying and harassment in the workplace. Can you explain a little bit about that and what it's all about?
Well, and certainly I can. We conducted surveys of our members prior to going into negotiations, and one of the issues identified through those surveys was that there was a significant issue with bullying in the workplace. So what we tried to do is create some language in the collective agreement that provides us the ability to deal with those types of issues within the terms and conditions of the collective agreement. If you're familiar with the current collective agreement and the practices around the current collective agreement, issues of discrimination, harassment, workplace bullying, unfair treatment, those type of issues under the current grievance procedure could not proceed beyond level 2 of the grievance procedure. So you never were able to get them to an independent third-party review in front of an arbitrator. So in many cases, the individuals who were making the decisions may have in fact been supporting the perpetrators of the abuse. So the language that we have now, by having language in the collective agreement, it's basic language. It simply says that there won't be any harassment and bullying. And I have the language in front of me so I can actually read the Article 50. It says the employer, union, employees are committed to having a safe and respectful workplace where discrimination, harassment, and bullying will not be tolerated. And that's all we really needed to ensure that we had the ability to deal with issues of harassment and bullying through the grievance procedure and to extend that grievance procedure to arbitration where necessary.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the question, Linda. Barb's up next. Barb, go ahead.
He was hired.
All right. Looks like Barb actually didn't want to take her question live, so I'll ask it for her. She says, explain when the contract takes effect.
If it's ratified?
Is that?
If the contract is ratified, it will take effect on the first pay period following ratification. The memorandum is specific in regards to the actual date that it becomes effective. And I'm going to get the memorandum out so I can read you the page from the memorandum. The parties agree, once signed, shall be effective from the first day of the biweekly pay period following the date of signing until March 31st, 2017. So that's when it will be effective, on the first biweekly pay period following ratification.
Great. Thank you very much, Barb, for the question. Jamie is up next. Jamie, you're live.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. You kind of touched on this a little bit earlier with one of the other questions, but I was just looking for clarification on the case where the membership votes against the proposed settlement. In that instance, is everything other than the salary changes off of the table, or is the entire agreement potentially on the table again?
All of the things that formed a part of the memorandum of settlement would be back off of the table. We have been able to narrow down through collective bargaining a number of issues that would have remained as a part of a settlement, but it was the last group of items that were outstanding, which included the salary, the paid Christmas leave, the time off for union business, the shift differential and weekend premiums, the grievance procedure, and that's about it. Those were the items that were left outstanding when we had concluded bargaining on the 26th. So I would suggest, from my perspective, all of the other items that had been agreed to would be still agreed to, and those are the items that would still be in dispute moving forward.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jamie. We're going to Michelle live next. Michelle, you're live on the line.
Oh, hello. Overall, I just wanted to say people are pretty positive about it at our work site. I think it was a really good agreement. But my question is pertaining to Northern Retention, so the 55th to 57th parallel. I'm not sure if that's part of this or if that's negotiated outside, because my understanding was it's set to expire in September.
The Northern Retention Allowance, there was a group of 4 letters of understanding that dealt with issues around retention and bonuses for those folks working in the North. And they were negotiated outside of the previous collective agreement and came into effect during the life of the agreement, so they were never in the previous collective agreement. During this round of negotiations, it was the position of the bargaining committee that all of those letters be moved into the body of the collective agreement as letters of understanding, and that they be put in place for the life of the current collective agreement. So during bargaining, the 1 or 2 letters that had expiry dates did expire during collective bargaining. We had to renew those letters with the government. But post reaching a settlement, we did have discussions with the government, and they agreed that the intent of signing the letters of understanding off in the bargaining process was that they would form part of the collective agreement and would be in place for the life of the current collective agreement. So that means that those letters will remain in place until March 31st, 2017.
Excellent. All right. Next question is Edie. Go ahead, please.
I had asked him to ask the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to know about extra vacation days, and will that start this year?
Is that the question? It's Dale. I can give you the breakdown of the vacation changes. So the vacation changes occur in two places. First, for new hires, there was an elimination of the 1 day per month accrual in the first year above and beyond what you accrued to use in the second year. That's been replaced with a simple, all new employees will receive 5 days vacation. So if something comes up in your first month that you require a day off, you can have a day off. You will have vacation entitlements. Beyond that, for those employees who are more senior and are progressing through the banking of vacation, there was two significant changes in the vacation. First is, under the current scheme, vacation is earned in 1 year to be utilized in the next. Moving forward, you will be given your vacation on a monthly basis. It will go into your bank monthly, and you can utilize vacation as it is earned. The changes to the vacation will become effective on July 1st. So if it is ratified, you will start accruing, if you're one of those individuals who moved based on the changes in years, if you're one of those individuals who moved to a new accrual rate for vacation, you will start accruing vacation at your new rate on July 1st. And that will be banked on a monthly basis moving forward. Everything you earned prior to July 1st will be placed in your bank, and that will be based on the old system. So if you were one of those folks that were fortunate enough to move and get an additional 5 days with the moving back, you will start accruing those 5 days on July 1st.
Great. Thank you very much, Edie. Thank you for your question. I see in our notes from our collector, she also wanted to thank you guys for the town hall. And we've actually gone a little bit over the hour we had allotted. So we didn't get to everybody's question in the queue, but if you feel like you didn't get your question answered, we're going to wrap up the call in just a moment here. You'll have an opportunity to leave us a voicemail message if you didn't get your question answered, or if you'd just like to leave a comment for us, go ahead and stick around until we close out the call. You can leave us a voicemail message. And if you didn't have a chance to press 7 to give us your email address, you can go ahead and leave your name and your personal email address in that voicemail message as well. And we'll be sure to keep you updated via email moving forward. With that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Guy and Dale to take us to the close.
This is Guy Smith here. I just want to thank you for hanging on the line for this hour or so and listening to the questions and asking questions as well. As I mentioned when we opened up, it's so important that our members make an informed decision. We have, as Dale said, we've received close to 60% of the ballots have been returned, but we want to see much more. So if you haven't returned your ballot yet and your questions have been answered, please feel free to do so and encourage your coworkers to do the same. Because that's what this is all about. This is the members having their final say on what has been a very challenging, politically charged round of bargaining. And the other thing I want to say to you as members is I know you've been put through a lot in the last few months, and I want to thank you for your ongoing support of the bargaining committee and being involved and engaged, whether you phoned your MLA or lobbied your MLA or were out there in some of the rallies that we did around the province. I want to thank you for that, because that's the strength in our union that's seen us through some very, very dark times, and I think that we've come through it even stronger than before. So thanks for everything that you do as members of AUP, and thanks for everything you do on behalf of the people of the province every day. And remember, return your ballot before June 23rd. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.